Hello there, everybody. Happy Sunday. Chief Meteorologist Andrea Michaels here, ready for our weekly on Cloud43 live stream where we chat anything and everything about the forecast for the week ahead. We take our grand old time because when you see us on air during the newscasts, I only get 2.5 minutes most days. When the weather's a little busier, sometimes I can get at least an extra 15 to 30 seconds, but this is a great opportunity to talk about some of the nuances and the nitty-gritty details that we don't often get to really delve into as much as we would like in a typical broadcast. So we'll get going with the forecast for the week ahead, and if you have any questions along the way, please chime in, ask away. This is the opportunity to talk the forecast in a way we just normally can't. And I must say, we've got a pretty good forecast here. It could be a little difficult to find some nitty-gritty talking points, except for when we get to tropical weather. That's where we'll be able to do it. But the forecast is going to be pretty quiet for the week ahead. Not necessarily a bad problem to have, although I will admit I would like to see a little more rain in this forecast. But here is a look at the 7-day forecast. We also here don't hold out on the Weather Impact 7-day forecast. We give it to you right away, right off the bat. Give the people what they want, as the phrase so goes, or as the saying goes anyway. So after some showers and a few storms that have popped up, they've been few and far between this afternoon and the evening. Once they wrap up, I mean, we pretty much have a quiet and a dry week ahead. It is going to be breezy Monday and seasonally cool. I mean, you know, a little bit below the average for this time of year. If I can get my trusty little pointer here and direct you to the upper right-hand portion of the screen here, you'll see that the average high for Harrisburg is 84 degrees. So we'll be a few degrees below that. Really nothing to write home about here. And then here's the fall blast that's going to settle in. Okay, maybe blast is a little too strong of a word. We'll call it burst. A blast at this time of year, at least according to my thoughts, that's more like 60s. We'd have to be well below average for me to call this a fall blast. But here it is. Our late August version of a fall blast that has settled in for pretty much the rest of the week here. We're looking at mid to high 70s. I mean, are we fast forwarding into fall? Probably not. I think we'll get some surges of warmth coming back, especially as we head into September. But, I mean, it's very possible we could be done with heat waves. Ooh, do I want to put that out into the universe? Because watch like a very low-end 390-degree days of a heat wave make it into our area. But this is pretty much what we are looking at as far as conditions go for our area. Quiet, dry. Like I said, I would like to see a little more rain. Pretty much partly cloudy skies, partly sunny skies. Cool low temperatures, that's another thing. This is your very early windows open alert, alert. Not just for one day, not just for 2 days or 3, but many more. I mean, a stretch of 50s like this in August, that's really good. And in particular, Wednesday morning and especially Thursday morning at our higher elevation locations to the north and to the west of Harrisburg, it truly wouldn't shock me if we could do a little bit better than that and perhaps even manage to get some much cooler temperatures in, say, the high 40s in some of our higher elevation locations. So certainly stay tuned. Sorry, I'm seeing this out of the corner of my eye and my neat freakness is stepping in. There we go. Tried. Hi, Matt. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, this weather, I have to say, I mean, if you're loving it today still, you'll probably love it even more in the days to come here. So, let me get these short pieces out of the way. I burned my hair off, and now I'm doing heatless curlers again while the hair grows back, and now it just does whatever it wants. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, a very quiet week with very pleasant temperatures. I mean, this looks like a late September, early October, maybe not early October, maybe so much though a mid to late September forecast more than anything. Maybe early October, although it would be maybe a touch on the mild side for early October, but still, no complaints here. We dry out tonight. Breezy winds are going to pick up tomorrow. That's going to help usher in this fall burst of air that's going to settle in and pretty much stay with us for a good portion of the week. Let's talk to here and now, though, in the moment. We do have a few spotty showers, maybe a rumble of thunder or two. A lot of what is formed during the day across our area has pretty much fallen apart, though. It really had a hard time not just getting started or initiating, but also maintaining itself. There just hasn't been a whole lot to work with as far as our setup goes. A cold front is still out to our west, so that brings some of the lift that might help. But of course, that little bit of lift out towards the Alleghenies and of course the Laurel Highlands and whatnot, that's where you're starting to see some showers, maybe a few rumbles of thunder, but so far everything is staying sub-severe, below severe criteria, and I expect it to stay that way too for the rest of the night. Let me see, anybody else jumping on here yet? Come on, or is my feed just not updating quick enough for me? No, that appears to be it. Okay, well, we'll go with it. Hopefully more people will pop on soon and we'll chit chat a little more. Either that or y'all are on vacation and whatnot, getting in those last days before the Labor Day weekend, which is next weekend. Wow, that was fast, wasn't it, as far as summer goes? Anywho, any showers and storms, I mean, obviously it's past sunset now. We're going to lose daytime heating. These will likely fall apart as they move towards the east. We might get maybe a stray shower, maybe a very brief downpour or so out of this until about midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Can't rule out a stray early morning spritz, but I mean, I think as far as rain goes, this was our best chance. And I mean, as you can see, this is what our best chance was. It wasn't very much, which does have some concern to it, of course, because obviously, you know, we've been dry again after quite a damp May, June, even first half of July. I've said this many times, so pardon me for repeating the phrase, but we really truly have just turned off the faucet here. It's pretty disappointing to see, but hopefully, I mean, this time of year too, tropical activity starts to pick up, so there's always going to be that opportunity in September, October for some tropical moisture to get to us. I don't think we get anything the rest of August, though. So as far as that goes, I think our chance for tropical moisture through the rest of August is about as low as it gets here. I would even argue it's 0 at this point. We'll talk a little bit more about that, though, on that note. But let's get to this. We are talking, of course, a cold front that's crossing through. Here's our big picture setup. Cold front draped across the state right now, moving its way through. There's an offshore area of low pressure and another cold front. It's just there. I mean, it moves out to sea. This guy will push it out and help it move along. This big old area of high pressure is going to come barreling in, and that's where our cooler Canadian air mass, our taste of fall, is coming from. It starts with a humidity drop tomorrow, and then Monday night and into Tuesday is the temperature drop. Very often, actually, we find that, you know, getting that cooler air in is usually a day delayed. Richard Hines, do you think we will get some of that nasty stuff that starts with the letter S? This is August and September. Yeah, no, I think it's still a little too early for that, friend. But, I mean, looking at some of the big picture stuff already heading into fall, tail end of fall, early winter, first half at least, might be a little more interesting. I sense the potential, and I admittedly have not given this a very thorough look, but my first instincts are many years now, last few years, it seems like winter has mostly gotten a slow start and then we kind of jump into it later. Might be reverse this time around. We might actually start with some pretty decent cold shots of air and then we might quiet down towards the tail end. That's just my initial gut instincts at the beginning. Again, I haven't looked at all of the factors in depth and other patterns that might kind of chip away at the potential for what I'm looking at right now. But I think there's a little more hope in the S department this time around, especially through the first half of winter. There are a couple factors that are going good for us, but there's also the potential, just like last winter, for some variability. So it's not a slam dunk, but it will certainly be interesting, to say the least here. Although I guess I find each season on its own is always unique and interesting. But keep you posted on that. Stand by. Good evening, Sam. Welcome to the chat. And Charles, good evening to you too. Great. We're seeing people jumping on now. All right. Perfect. Anyways, getting back to our setup here, high pressure. This is everybody's friend if you're a fall lover or just a pleasant weather lover in general. I'm cool as long as it comes with the low humidity, but once we get these features, these weather features, to shift a little bit more to the east in the next 24 hours, then you're going to notice the difference. You'll definitely notice the difference in air mass, though. We're not going to be wasting much time with that at all, which for me, like I said, I am a low humidity fan. I don't like humidity. My hair doesn't like it. My face doesn't like it. I break out a lot when that happens, but this is what we're dealing with here. Ooh, gloss dripping. There we go. Sorry about that. Live TV, guys. Anyways, basically where you see the green and then these yellow colors and brown colors, that's the dividing line between your humid / uncomfortable. Anything in the high 60s and 70s is yucky. 70s, especially 75 plus, that's pretty tropical feeling as far as your humidity goes. 40s, that's your dry air. That feels so good. We won't get that dry, but we'll be sitting mighty fine. Mighty fine. Also, a lot of times this summer, and this isn't atypical for summer by any means, but a lot of times, you know, fronts have moved through. You're lucky if they've at least cut down on your humidity, but they really haven't cut down on your temperatures. This is going to cut down on both. But you tend to, once we start to get into September, especially in October, you do get that variability where your jet stream starts to reach a little bit more south because, of course, you're changing, you're transitioning, you're changing the seasons, you're losing your sun angle, your daytime heating, your daylight, all of those factors that go into play. Obviously, this is a little bit of an unusual circumstance. We've seen a lot of variability with this August so far. A lot of big swings from hot to cooler than average, warm, and then cool again. And this is the next, cool again ride that we have going on here. Hi, Greg. Hello to Lancaster, PA, Gregory. Sorry, I don't know if I can call you Greg. My apologies. But if you do like Greg, I will say Greg. Irving, hello there. Yeah, it's Sunday Black Day. I have no good reason for it other than I ate like garbage over the weekend, and for some reason, whenever that happens, I always feel compelled to wear black on a Sunday. That's usually a dead giveaway. They say it hides the bloat. Anywho, that was probably too much info. So here we go. We got cooler temperatures along the Great Lakes region. We'll be sliding some of that down here. Not the coolest, obviously, the temperatures in the 60s, but you know what? This time of year, I will not complain about some 70s. I certainly will not. And that's what's going to be moving in. So first goes the humidity, our dew point numbers. These are starting at 8 a.m. Monday. Just a heads up here, 8 a.m. right here, 8 a.m. Monday. It'll come down a little bit before daybreak, but it'll be on the way down. It'll feel very comfortable by the end of the day. I mean, the humidity, even the afternoon will be fine, truly by like midday. But it's still, kids heading off to the bus stop, still might feel a little on the icky side, just a little. And then by the time everybody's coming home, whether it's from school, dinner, whatever, it's going to feel fantastic. All the good things. All the good things. And the humidity really stays down. There's no increase in humidity in this forecast period. It's going to be a very nice, prolonged period of comfortable weather. And I mean, that's amazing. A little breezy though. Monday is looking like one of our breezier days. Wind gusts between 15 to 20 miles an hour. I noticed that York and Lancaster counties tend to be a little breezier. South and east of Harrisburg, for some reason, there always seems to be that bias where you get your higher wind gusts. So it's possible, you know, they're more between 20 to 25 miles an hour. And then Tuesday, still a touch of a breeze, nothing to write home about. But then we pick up and turn a little breezy again Wednesday. But that's just with another reinforcing shot of fall air more than anything, or fall-like air, before the winds finally start to come down a little bit towards the end of the week. Jason, you are, oh, welcome, Jason. Good to see you. John, hello, John. So glad that you joined. Jason, you are asking or wondering if Richfield, which for folks who don't know, Richfield is in Juniata County in south central Pennsylvania, if Richfield would get some storms, and it has some hail in it too. That's what the weather app is saying. You know, that's interesting because the Storm Prediction Center had us highlighted in a 5% wind chance for damaging wind gusts, but kept the hail threat more so north central, northeastern Pennsylvania. I mean, I really don't see us getting hail, especially at this point now that, you know, it's the evening, we're losing daytime heating, Jason. I think you'll be lucky if you can get a brief thunder shower or something, because whatever we have happening is really starting to fizzle at this point. You know, those weather apps, they can be useful, but, you know, without somebody who can give you some of the finer details, they only run off one model. So you're only getting one model's version of it. So, you know, sometimes they can do really well, but if a model doesn't have the pattern or isn't performing well, then a lot of it might be off. And, you know, even sometimes those hourly forecasts, even the day of, they can be, especially if there's a lot of variables, they can be a little shifty. So it kind of depends, the situation. Today's not one of those days, though, where your apps, it sounds like today's one of those days your app's having maybe not a terrible day, but also not one of its best days. Irving, so you say no passing, so now passing showers, or is it no like a 10-minute sprinkle? Yeah, I mean, you might get a brief downpour in a spot or two, but it's going to be pretty difficult losing daytime heating. A few of these showers and storms they've popped up. The ones that did, they've mostly been west of Harrisburg. In fact, most of them, I think, have even been west of, say, Gettysburg and Carlisle and Duncannon. And they've kind of just fizzled along the axis that they formed along. Without a cold front to help lift, we kind of lost that. And it's just really hard when you have a lot of clouds and you only built up so much energy and there's really nothing else going for it in the atmosphere to get anything going. So, I mean, I would say, I don't know where you live, Irving. If you've told me, I'm sorry, I'm not remembering right off the top of my head if you've ever mentioned it, but I mean, I would say it's not much to write home about, and even if you do get rain, getting a good amount at this point. It's looking pretty marginal in the 7-day forecast. Not a whole lot of rain coming our way. Drove through some and then sunshine, that's why I ask. Yeah, I mean, I would even say, Irving, that this is just that situation where even that, it's not even widespread enough where it's that hit or miss. You drive through it, then you miss something, drive through it, then you miss something. Whatever formed really just kind of fizzled an hour or two later. When I was leaving for my dinner break, it didn't look so terrible, but it did look like it was starting to lose some of its spark, and then they just kept fading. Everybody, pardon this for a moment. I can back it up a little bit more and show the radar again. just to help Irvin catch up a little bit. This is what we're looking at currently on the radar. What formed out west really just fell apart here. And then if I use my good old zoom here, you can see there is a little bit more as far as hit or miss showers go, but even some of these storms that have managed to form off the Laurel Highlands moving into the Alleghenies now, they are already losing a lot of their punch. And now that we're past daytime heating, I just really don't think there's going to be so much. You said you also saw on the NWS website it has some I'm not sure if that's a typo, Jason. Is that levator like in the cell? I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time deciphering. I think that might have been a typo. And I'm trying to think of what that could be so I can answer your question, but I'm struggling. I'm sorry. In the cell. I mean, regardless, looking at this, it is all weakening, so I would imagine that whatever was happening in the particular cell you're talking about is probably just, at this point, fizzling with everything else. Lavender. Oh, okay. Is it lavender? Oh, some lavender. Oh, as in the purple. Okay, okay, I got you now. Thank you, Irving. Thank you. Sometimes you just need another set of eyes, guys, and this is just one of those things. Yeah, okay, so out west, yeah, were some of those purples. Yeah, I saw that briefly. Okay, now I understand what you mean. Yeah, look at that guy, though. That guy just fizzled, so I think the trend's going to continue at this point. I really do. So that's pretty much where we are. Unfortunately, not a whole lot of rain. Fortunately, not too worried about severe weather. It was a low chance to get some damaging wind gusts or maybe some localized ponding from some downpours and whatnot, but this is where we are. All right, so sorry guys, I just fast forwarded and kind of blew through to kind of play catch up with where we were. So tonight it's basically going to be clouds hang around, they clear and start to break pretty close to daybreak. I'd say 3, 4, 5 o'clock, that's when we really start to see things begin to come along here. You'll wake up to some sun, but then it'll be one of those days where the cool air comes in, the breezes pick up, and you'll see those puffy little fair weather cumulus clouds start popping up. And that's going to be after temperatures begin in the low and middle 60s. So you're going to have that to look forward to. Still a bit of a muggy morning, not terrible, but by the afternoon, we're going to be sitting wonderfully. Temperatures are going to be near 80 degrees, either a little under or a little above for Monday's highs, partly sunny skies. It's just going to be a beautiful day. Really, truly, a warm one. Well, below average technically, but feeling warm anyway. And then down come the highs the rest of the week. Look at Tuesday's highs. Low and mid 70s. Wednesday, very similar. Thursday, look at this. We're like crawling each day. At best, we're crawling here. With low humidity too, and some cool morning low temperatures, mind you. AM 60s, then up to 80s. Yep, that's right, Irving. And really not a bad forecast. It'll feel maybe a bit sticky at first, but after that, it's going to be nice. So we're going to pivot now and talk tropical weather briefly here. Obviously, we got past our first 5 names. We are now on number 6, though. Tropical Storm Fernan formed yesterday. And we'll take a look at it and talk a little more statistics. So first of all, I want to start by showing the hurricane graph frequency because it's very relevant. This shows you the number of storms per 100 years. The red area is a combination of tropical storms and hurricanes, and just the yellow is hurricanes alone. You'll notice the peak here of hurricane season is always September 10th. This is your most active time. So we are at the end of August and we are approaching the most active time every year. September always is, and that's because the oceans are huge. I know. Thank you, Captain Obvious. But because the oceans are so big, it takes time for the sun, the summertime sun angle, to warm it beyond the equator. So think about it, your ocean water that's well north of the equator. It takes time. There's a delay in that. So that's why your more favorable times of year in the Atlantic anyway for tropical development later in August, September, October, and then it drops off in October because fall arrives and then everything starts to cool. Again, it's a delayed effect because we can still get tropical activity in November. Very rarely post hurricane season, which is beyond November 30th, but it's certainly not unheard of. It's just very rare. And I don't think this year, last year didn't either, but this year doesn't strike me as one of those years where that's going to be a problem for us, especially because it's very possible that the Atlantic might be entering, at least the equatorial Atlantic, might be entering more of a cool phase, which could have some implications for our winter forecast. Fun fact there. Could be. We'll see where the trends go with this one. It's very possible. It looked like we might have gotten that pivot last year, I believe, but it never really came to fruition, if I remember right. One of the many things we look at, of course. So let's talk Tropical Storm Fernand. Well, Fernand. You don't say the D. Fernand. I didn't take French, guys. I took Spanish, and then I took Italian, and I tried to self-teach myself a little bit of Japanese so that I could hopefully not have to read anime subtitles. Yeah, fun facts about me. Anywho, obviously, it's a very small storm. It's to the east of Bermuda. Here's Bermuda, this little speck here on the map, and this is Fernand. This is the cold. Well, this is the first cold front. This is the second cold front. This cold front, this is going to push Fernand away anywho. So this is not going to be a problem at all for us. In fact, we're going to find that our weather pattern is probably going to spare us any major impacts from tropical systems, at least for the next week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. Just to put that out there. So Fernand is expected to just move gradually and weaken as it moves into the North Atlantic and becomes a post-tropical cyclone. And that's really that. It's not as exciting as Erin, but you know what? Thank goodness. Kind of over it. So let's talk tropical formation chance. There is another wave highlighted here that is approaching the Lesser Antilles. This guy right here. That has a 30% chance of development in the next 2 days. And I believe it is an additional 30% chance of development beyond that. So if it develops, it's a low chance of happening. Now, apparently, from what I've heard on the TikToks, which I don't know how many people here are on the TikToks. Oh, Irving, you said always tracking east. Can I comment on that? Yeah, it's tracking east because that's the cold front's going to push it that way. And we'll find that that's actually a recurring theme. I actually have a little something prepared to show and talk about that. So, the formation chance as it moves past the Lesser Antilles and ultimately moves into the Caribbean, very low chance of development here. But apparently on the TikToks, I don't know, yesterday or maybe the day before, some person, here's my gripe, but I won't get as angry as last time, some person saw one run of, I don't even know what model it was, and says, oh, a major hurricane's going to hit somewhere in the Gulf on September 5th. I can only imagine that they're talking about this tropical wave. Let the dead silence just sit there. Oi, Gen Zers, man. Ugh. And I'm not trying to group or generalize, but gotta be careful. Just like everything of the information that we find on TikTok or any type of social media platform, question everything, especially if it is one model showing one storm in one area. how far is September 5th from today? Like a week and a half out? Ooh, man. And that's just hard because I know, I mean, yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, okay, thank you, Irving. You're totally saying what I would love to say right now, but yes, I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy to me that people just do that. They get views. And then it circulates, and then so many people like believe it because they don't know better. Because a lot of people aren't that into this sort of stuff to know that maybe they need to find other information, and it makes me so angry. And yes, you are also right, Irving, that Aaron took temperatures down. Yes. So because those winds were so powerful, it created a lot of ocean upwelling, and that helped cool the ocean waters there. I mean, they recover and they do get back to normal, but when you have a very powerful hurricane, which Erin, of course, was for a good portion of its lifetime, and it did become pretty big. I mean, I think it actually, I'm trying to think of the size here, but it became huge the further north it went. I believe it actually set a record for its size. I don't know if it was like the largest, but it was one of the top 5 largest systems to get that far north in latitude at that intensity. Pardon me for not remembering the exact details there. Exactly, Jonathan. If it's on TikTok, it must be true. Let me just, why do I bother, guys? I should totally just be on TikTok, like, screaming and getting millions of views and making Lord knows how much money that makes to just lie to people and scare people. God, it must be nice. Ugh. But anyway, yes. So this guy is not going to be a problem, more than likely. And we're going to talk about why. We're going to actually talk some science and some gosh darn facts. I'm always where the facts are on anything and everything. And if facts change as science learns more, then guess what? I change my opinion because that's what people, well, okay. I'm going to get myself in trouble if I say that's what everybody should do, but we should. And we should, not commit to any beliefs 100%, especially when it comes to science. So, anyway, digressing there. Let's get back on the track here. Here's a look at our upper level pattern. We are looking at 500 millibar heights. That's way up high in the atmosphere, almost close to airplane level. It's a little under jet stream level or airplane level. A little under, just to give some ideas. So we've got ridges of high pressure, and we also get troughs of low pressure. That's the dips, you see. Those are the dips. Dips, the troughs, tend to be associated with the cooler weather. The big old ridges, that's the warm weather. But when we're talking the upper levels, they are also our steering winds as well. So the steering winds around a ridge of high pressure run parallel to these height lines that you see here. They're called height lines. I won't get into why, that might be a little too much, but suffice it to say that the winds at the upper levels always follow these contours. High pressure, everything flows clockwise. Low pressure, everything's counterclockwise. So high pressure, boom. So what does this mean here? This dip in the jet stream, phew, your wind's going this way. So everything is working in a manner to steer systems away from the U.S. Goes here, up, nope, can't do anything. So anything that forms here is just by nature going to be directed this way. Could it enter the Gulf? Maybe. Let's put this into motion and see. First, I'm going to clear this out, though, because that's going to change as I put this into play. So, there we go. Boom. Notice that this is moving. The ridge strengthens a good bit, actually, and the fact that that ridge strengthens makes it very difficult. Notice that that ridge bulged out here for some time. That makes it very difficult for anything that formed to curve up towards the East Coast in particular. In fact, the way that was moving, it made it even difficult for anything to enter the Gulf. So everything that forms, at least, what's this at, next Saturday? Everything that at least forms this week, the track is going to be Atlantic to Caribbean, or Caribbean, however you pronounce it. I know you can say it both ways. And that's just the nature of the steering winds here. Now, let's pretend something forms along a stalled front. Can happen. Not out of the question. Here's your steering winds up here. So your winds are going this way. This yellow doesn't show up too well. Sorry about that, guys. But you get the point there. So anything that forms is going to go that way again because it's going to follow the steering winds of the Bermuda High and the steering winds of this trough. So even getting anything to form, it's just not going to move towards the East Coast. That's just the way it's going to be. Put this into motion some more. Oops, sorry, I should have cleared out my arrows, but I don't think they changed too much. Yes. So the following Wednesday, so this is Wednesday, September 3rd, I believe. So 2 Wednesdays from now, you got the same thing going on here. So you're really, I think aside from anything that might form along a stalled front, I think you're going to have a really hard time getting anything tropical that forms. I think it's going to be very difficult to get anything trying to come towards the East Coast. It's either going to be curved away very early in the game. If anything does happen to form coming off the coast of Africa, I think it's going to very easily be just redirected away from the U.S. Or it's going to travel, but it's not going to be able to make it into the Gulf. The steering winds for the next at least 8 to 10 days will not be favorable. Like I said, something can form along a stalled cold front, not out of the question. But if they form along a stalled cold fronts move from west to east, everything's going to get pushed east. So in the next week and a half, in short, I see no threat to U.S. mainland from anything significant. For sure, significant. Not from another errand. Maybe a weak tropical storm that brings some rain, forms along a stalled front. If something goes just right, sure, can't rule that out. But something like Erin, yeah, I think something like that coming towards the U.S., threatening the U.S. in any way, I think that's a very, very low probability. And the East Coast, I think it's an even lower probability. So in short, while stuff might form, I think they're just going to be out in the ocean, and therefore, for most people, they're not going to exist. Unless, of course, you get a... Hold on. Unless, of course, you get like a 384-hour GFS forecast or Canadian forecast that, puts a hurricane, say, right here. Everybody panic! Ah, here's one run. 11 days, 10 days out. Run for your lives. Yeah, no. Oh, man. But that's it as far as tropical weather goes, and that's what I think the next week and a half looks like in tropical weather, because why not talk about it when it's so quiet here? So, Jason, you're on TikTok, but you don't listen to the... Well, find me on TikTok. I'm trying to be a little more active on TikTok, but gosh, with all the platforms, it's just so... this girl doesn't have enough time in her day between taking care of 5 rabbits, a child, trying to be a good wife, trying to be a good chief meteorologist. I don't find the time some of these people find to do these some of them are very elaborate videos, man. Again, maybe I'm just not fast enough yet, but I have been trying, because it's easier to be creative on TikTok than Instagram, and especially Facebook Reels. You would think that Instagram and Facebook would have similar capabilities because they're owned by the same parent company, Meta, but no, Instagram actually does a little more. Anywho, I digress. But yeah, find me there on TikTok. But yeah, I'm glad you don't listen to the people there. It's just, oh man. They really need to start teaching in class, deciphering good information from bad information on social media. Everything from figuring out biases, whether it's political or scientific or whatever, like being able to tell what is bias, what might not be real, what's a real image, what's an AI generated image or video. Gosh, like that needs to start getting put into, I would say high school, but kids are being given phones even before high school. But there needs to be something to help tell good information from bad information, because a misinformed public is just so scary. And it's just, oh man. It is. It's just, it's scary. Anywho, find me on TikTok, and I appreciate that, you know, you listen to the experts, Jason. That's good. Me, Weather Channel, meteorologists who have been doing this for years and know their stuff for sure. If it's not me, please just let it be somebody who knows what on earth they're talking about. With that said, though, we'll wrap it up in a nice little pretty bow as we always do, and I'll show you the weather impact 7-day forecast one more time. Again, a breezy one tomorrow. Humidity starts falling early in the day, so it'll feel wonderful by about midday. Temperatures near 80. The cool fall blast coming in, middle to end of the week. Note the cool lows. This is your early windows open alert. Weather impact alert for windows open, starting Monday night and lasting foreseeable future. I know for a lot of people, 80 degrees is kind of the rough cutoff for AC on, AC off. Depends on the humidity too, I know, but generally speaking. But yeah, I mean, the rest of this week could easily, for some people's tolerances, be windows open all week, no AC, nothing. So have fun, have at it. Only thing, like I said, I wish I could throw in there is a drop of rain in this forecast. It's possible we get a couple instability sprinkles, as I like to call them, Tuesday, but not substantial rain. A secondary front might try to move through in the Friday time frame, but it's looking like a dry front. So worst case scenario right now is that we might end up adding a stray shower or two to that Friday forecast. And I mean, so far it looks like we're pretty dry through the weekend, but rain's got to be coming, and let's hope that, we do get some decent rain. All right, that'll do it for now, everybody. Thank you all who jumped in and tuned in to talk about this little nerdy breakdown of the forecast. I wish you a wonderful rest of your Sunday and a wonderful final week of August. Man, where has the time gone? Enjoy, though, one way or another, guys. Stay safe, stay healthy.